I would say with those two guys, you know, first of all, they've been class acts in every aspect of our program, and both had, you know, tremendous futures in front of them, and still have tremendous futures in front of them. It's just going to be different now for them, you know. I think they're going to continue to be very involved in the program. I think one of the things that's challenging sometimes, and I think you kind of read it in both of their quotes a little bit, is you know, sometimes guys, you know, have long-term things that they're dealing with. You know, some of them come in with them from high school and just never able to get over them. So it's challenging. It's challenging for them. It's challenging for their parents. It's challenging for us as a staff in terms of, you know, managing a roster and depth and those types of things. But most importantly, I think it's difficult. This is their dream. You know, this is their ultimate dream. And our game, you know, that it's going to come to an end at some point. You know, and they got to kind of shift their vision, and they all kind of have a vision or a plan in their mind of how it's going to go for them, and then it changes. So, you know, I feel really good about the support system that we have, and you know, this isn't something that just came upon us. You know, this is something that's been going on for a while. So, you know, like, we just want to support those guys and their future endeavors.
Can you talk in general terms, James, about how these situations are handled? Is the medical staff involved, the parents, the kids? I mean, who all is involved in this?
Yeah, it starts with obviously the kids and the medical staff and their parents. You know, we're a lot of times the last people to know. I mean, I think we have an idea, obviously, that there's some ongoing issues because these aren't anything that just comes up overnight. You know. So, you know, in the back of your mind, you know, you're hopeful that it's going to work out, but you also think, you know, the kid's been dealing with something for a long time, you know, and it's challenging. So, but it's you know, it is medical and kid and parent driven. You know, but it's tough. You know, obviously I got to be sensitive because I can't talk a whole lot about, you know, their medical stuff. But on the same hand, it's a tricky situation. It's a tricky situation, and it's challenging. I think that the hardest part is these guys all have a vision in their mind of how this is going to play out. It just doesn't always play out that way. You know, I would make the argument in some ways. I remember talking to a couple, you know, Letterman, you know, former players here, and they went through similar experiences, and they said in some ways it's a blessing because at some point your career is going to come to an end, and you got to switch gears at that time. And for these guys, you know, they're able to get started on a little bit earlier sometimes, you know. So, you know, it's no one situation is the same. They're all different.
Do you think it's easier for guys to make that decision nowadays with some of the awareness about the health aspects? And
I don't think so. I think guys still, you know, want to play until they can't play anymore. You know, I think when the NCAA, I don't know how many years ago they created this. I think it was maybe 15 years ago or so. It was one of the better things that they did, you know, the medical scholarship. But I don't see any of that. We're kind of having a strange year, to be honest with you. Some that, you know, that came in, and some that have been dealing with things for a number of years. So it's just kind of a strange year, to be honest with you. In my 23 years, I've never been a part of something like this.
You said before that you were happy with the defensive end depth. Do you still feel the same way in spite of the retirement? And have any of other guys besides Sharif Miller kind of separated themselves?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to have Buck. I mean, you know, he's been a very productive player, and, you know, all those types of things, and a great teammate. He's been an unbelievable teammate. But again, it's not like this kind of just came out of nowhere, you know. So, you know, it's not like it was a shock for us. We knew it was kind of a challenge, you know, for the last couple of years. So. But no, I think Sharif and Etor are doing a really good job. Shane's doing. I think, you know, we got a lot of depth there. Etor, Shane, Sharif, obviously. Shaka, as you know, brings an element, you know, to our package. Daniel Joseph's had a really good camp. So I still feel good about our group. We'd love to have Buck, but.
James, what are those conversations like when they come in and sit down with you? I mean, not in specific terms, but in general. And are they, you know, how hard are they?
Yeah, to be honest with you, they're hard because they're coming to me and it's the finality of it, but it's not a hard conversation, you know, in terms of what to do, because like I said, when they come to me, it's already pretty much done. But yeah, I think the finality of it and walking into having the conversation with the head coach, and it's either me and the doctors and the young man, or a lot of times it's the parents too. You know, so I think although you know it's coming and you have an awareness that this is a possibility, the finality of it is still tough.
In terms of the heart situations that you guys had, do you think there's anything that could or should be done, maybe in screening procedures that maybe would avert you guys to it, or is it something that's just kind of difficult to detect?
I'm not sure what you're saying, because that's what we did. We did screen for it.
Right, but I mean, like, would you like to see guys get screened at younger ages in terms of high school and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on what happens in high school and things like that, so I can't really speak intelligently on that, so I won't do that. It wouldn't change a thing for us. You know, we recruit these guys, and you know, when they got here, I mean, again, this is a situation that I have never been a part of before. You know, but I think in a lot of ways I look at it as a blessing, because I'd rather find out this way. You know, but no, I mean, I can't speak on what should happen in high school and things like that, because we all know there's financial, you know, aspects of it as well. And I'm not saying that's what should drive it, but I can't speak on that a whole lot.
James, have you been through a situation like this before, where a program lost so many guys in such a short period of time? And is there any limit to how many medical scholarships a school is allowed?
The first thing would be no. I've never been through something like this. Number two, I don't know that answer. Again, I've never been down this road, so I'm not really sure. And again, I think for you it may seem different than for us. You know, for us, we got one right now that we weren't that we were kind of blindsided by. You know, obviously coming in, and then we've had other guys that we knew that there are long-term challenges and issues with, and you just don't know how it's going to play out. You're hopeful that you drag it out over a year or two, that you know we're going to find a way to solve some of the problems. But I've never been through something like this, and I don't have an answer for the other ones.
What kind of summer has Shaka had? I know he had some big games in the weight room. And do you think his role can evolve into more than a situation?
Yeah, I think so. You know, Shaka, it's funny because everybody, you know, talks about, you know, him in the pass game and questions him in the run game because, you know, he's not the biggest guy, but Shaka's powerful. He is powerful. He plays really strong. You know, functionally, he plays the game really strong and powerful and explosive. So he plays the run game better than you think for a guy that's, you know, a little bit undersized. But obviously, you know, a few more pounds helps him. You know, helps him to have even a bigger presence there. And I also think it's going to help him in the passing game, because although he had tremendous speed rushers, sometimes if people got their hands on him, they could kind of wash him by. So I think it's going to allow him to kind of fight pressure a little bit as well, and maybe have some counter and alternate moves.
James, are you any closer to making decisions at linebacker? And if so, and secondly, who has looked good there in the last week?
Yeah, I think we are closer to making some decisions at linebacker. You know, guys that I think are really making some moves right now. I think you know, I think Cam Brown looks good, really good. I think Jan Johnson looks good. I think Koa Farmer looks good. I think Jesse Luquetta's making a move. And I think that semester early for him has really been beneficial. I think Jarvis is finally getting comfortable at the position and playing to his strengths. And obviously, you know, Mike is doing, you know, some pretty impressive things. So we got a good group. Did I miss anybody there?
Manny Bowen.
Yeah. You know, Manny, it's not like coming on or any of those types of things. We all know that he can play. You know, so that really doesn't fall into this conversation. But yeah. Huh? Oh, and Ellis. Yeah, Ellis is doing some really good things inside. You know, Ellis is different than a lot of those guys because this is the position he's played naturally for so many years. So his instincts and, you know, techniques and fundamentals are really strong. So I think we got a good group. You know, we just got to get them to mature and gain as much experience early on as we can.
James, I don't mean this about Manny specifically, but how do you go about your philosophy on second chances, whether a guy deserves it, how they go about, you know, reaching that point?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that factor into it, and I don't even know if it's necessarily second chances. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, you're trying in life to create as many win-win situations as you can. And is this the right thing for Manny? Is this the right thing for Penn State? is this the right thing for our locker room? Is this the right thing for our program? So you're trying to kind of factor all those things. You know, a guy who's, you know, 6 months away from graduating, I think that factors in a little bit different. There's so many factors that go into it. Have they had a couple issues in a certain area, or are they having issues all over the place? You know, basically, I guess it's like anything else with you guys. It's you know, does it make sense to continue investing? You know, do we feel like there can be a happy ending to this story? And if you feel like there can be a happy ending to the story, then that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, make sure that these guys leave as educated men and prepared for life. You know, and like I said, but it's also got to be the right thing for Penn State. It's also got to be the right thing for our football program. It's also got to be the right thing, you know, for our players and our team. All those things have got to factor in, and you know, I think that's kind of how we look at it. I think it's hard, probably from the outside, when you're trying to kind of predict this and make sense of it. But you just there's too much information for anybody else to have strong opinions. In my world, the opinions that matter are Dr. Barron and the board and Sandy Barber and Todd Kolka and Dwight Gould and our medical staff, and I try to take all that information, and then our captains, Nick and Blake and Trace, and take all that information, and our coaching staff, and take all that information and make the best decision. You know, and you know, that's where I get frustrated sometimes. I know you guys are paid to have opinions. I get that, but to me, it's hard to have a strong opinion unless you have all the information. You know, so you know, this isn't the NFL. This is about, you know, helping kids and preparing young men. I probably should say young men to be successful in life, and that's what we're trying to do.
James, your thoughts on Ohio State? Linebackers, will he start week 1?
Say that again.
If Manny is one of your 3 best linebackers, will he start week 1?
Yeah, I don't really necessarily want to have this conversation right now before we've talked to the players, but no, he will not. And I think that's kind of already been covered, I think, by me and Brent. But you know, that's the other hard part. I think sometimes when you guys ask a question, you think I'm avoiding the question, but it's hard for me to answer something when we haven't decided who's starting game 1. I probably shouldn't even answer the question, but it's like, you guys ask me questions sometimes, and I want to be honest and I want to be forthright as much as I possibly can, but I also don't want to deliver a message to you guys before we've talked to the players. We haven't announced a depth chart or a 2D, you know. So you know, it's a tough spot because I don't want to feel like I'm avoiding your question, but I also don't want our players to watch the news tonight and hear something from what I said here rather than to them. So.
James, first Ohio State, now Maryland's going through an investigation. Your thoughts on that and its effects on the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think, you know, for us, I think you guys know I always want to be aware of what's going on, you know, in our community and what's going on in our conference and what's going on nationally, you know, so we can learn from those things. You know, I'm not a judgmental person. You know, I want to take experiences and learn from it once again because I don't have all the information. So it's hard for me to judge or make opinions, but I do know, you know, that you know, we need to grow and we need to learn and we need to evolve as well. So when these things are going on in other places, you know, it's an opportunity for us to take a step back and say, hey, you know, where are we at with these things? What's our process? What's our policies? How do we handle, you know, different things? And you know, again, I can't speak about what's going on in a lot of other places, but you know, we just try every single day to be doing things the best we possibly can, but also learn from other experiences that are going on around us, whether that's, you know, in our conference with the schools you mentioned, or whether that's nationally, or whether that's things that happen on our campus. You know, we always want to try to have discussion and dialogue around all these topics, you know, once again, so we can do a great job representing Penn State.